Next up, last presentation this evening is the Prop 3 Community Presentations presentation. And I believe we have Dr. Cain and Mary LaPak.
So this is actually, thank you, President Bays, much more of a conversation than truly a kind of presentation. What the board has in front of it is two different documents that I think would be very, very helpful. Let's start with the flyer, the blue and green flyer that speaks to some, I know there's been conversation about town halls. This speaks to Prop 3 informational town halls. And our goal is literally starting at the very beginning of October through the close of October. So on the 3rd, the 10th, the 17th, and then the 24th of October, we'll have town hall conversations specifically related to Prop 3 at each of our high schools. So we will work our way through each of the quadrants in the Rockwood School District, just so people have an awareness of not only an informative presentation, but we're able to find a means to address questions that our community and stakeholders may in fact have. Mary, you want to speak to any of the logistics in terms of the Q&A process and format that we plan on utilizing for these different town halls?
Sure, I'm happy to. So the town halls will be set up. We will ahead of time, and we've already have begun to share an email address, which is prop3questions@rsdmo.org, where people can submit questions. Of course, we will answer any questions that they submit related to Prop 3, but we'll also use those submissions at the town halls for Dr. Cain to answer some of those questions publicly.
Also, as it relates to presentations, I believe we share with the Board of Education, the Speakers Bureau. I can tell you we've already begun in earnest. We're 3 presentations in. I'm afraid to look at the number in terms of where we'll be by the close of this month alone, but we just think that it's really, really important that our community be informed. They will ultimately decide what they want to do, but we want to make sure that our community, that's both folks internal in terms of working within our schools, but in many ways, as if not more importantly, those that live in our community have a very factual understanding of what's going on, why Prop 3 is on the ballot, what the needs of the district happen to in fact look like. And so what Chris was just sharing are some really tangible takeaways that we have to not only as a leadership team in terms of board and superintendent think and work our way through, our community needs to be aware of this as well, because it's a give and take scenario. And Chris shared some of the very challenging, if not nightmarish, consequences, but we know where we sit, we know where we stand. We want to make sure our community is aware as well. So that's up and going in earnest. And then finally, this document I can promise you will change. But this is an FAQ document, just a frequently asked question document that's available. I believe we also have a copy that's on our district website as well. As we are encountering questions, and in our 3 presentations, we have encountered questions that we want to use to actually update the FAQ document that we have here. We just want to keep an ongoing dialogue, keep a dialogue in an ongoing manner as we're just sharing what we're hearing. People are asking questions, and they're very, very informed, enlightened questions. We want to make sure we have tangible answers for people as well. Mrs. LaPak, anything else you'd like to share?
No, except that a shout out to Dan Steinberger. He's actually at Werther tonight giving the presentation, so we appreciate that. And we'll continue to update the website with more information. And as Dr. Cain explained, as we give these presentations and people have questions, it's a great opportunity for us to tweak the presentation, to maybe make the presentation a little simpler for people to understand. It's a complicated issue. So we're constantly looking at how can we best present it so that folks have factual information about what Prop 3 is.
If I know this board the way I think I do, at least one of you is wondering, how can we be involved? What is it that we can do? I'm not going to look at any individuals right now, but I know at least one of you is thinking, how can we be involved, and what is it that we can do? I think your presence at some of the presentations, if your schedule allows, would be helpful. I know we have future parade and other opportunities that will be happening as we're heading into homecoming and other kind of seasonal celebrations. I think anytime the board is able to participate in those types of activities, it would be helpful as well. So might be wrong, but I think I preempted a question or two that may have been coming as related to involvement. Other questions, thoughts that the board happens to have?
So I've got one, and you did preempt some of my questions, so thank you. How are we thinking about, getting the message out? I appreciate the work you've already started doing. I appreciate these forums. My biggest concern is the folks who are going to vote on this proposition who don't have kids here, and they don't have a reason to come to our website. And generically, probably being a little bit, glossing or a little bit generalizing here, but that's primarily the people over 50, over 55. They don't have kids in school anymore, but they do vote. Those are the folks that if we can really make an inroad in that population, as I looked at the last proposition's demographics, that's the group that sunk us last time.
I have a general philosophy that you just make no assumptions when it comes to patrons. I think you have conversations with people, you present information, you let people ultimately make decisions based off of the information that you happen to have to share. Mrs. LaPak, you want to speak to any mailers in terms of informational mailers and what our timing and thinking happens to be?
Yeah, we're actually looking at 3 different informational mailers. One is our Rockwood News that would typically go out this time of year anyways, but that will be Prop 3 heavy with information that goes to every resident in the district. We have 2 other mailers that we intend to get out. One will be to parents and staff, and the other one will be to people who have voted in at least one of the last 3 April elections. We're looking at the April election because that's what tends to bring folks out for the board and interest in the community. So we're looking at hitting those voters who would normally vote in a board election that would hopefully come out and vote for Prop 3.
Good.
I always want to add, when you say what can the board do, most of us go to the chamber meetings. We can certainly be advocates there with the flyers. Buttons would be nice, like Ask Me, Prop 3.
Sure.
Would be a great thing for us just to get the
We actually have some ribbons that we've used in the past. Ask Me about
that
Prop
would
3.
get the conversation started. And that would also take in some of those people that aren't necessarily patrons or have parents in the district. So we'll do our share.
One of our presentations today was actually in Eureka with a senior group, and was very well received, and they really appreciated that we brought the information to them. So we're going to continue to do that.
I have learned many things in Rockwood, one of which anonymity is like good luck with that. But what I can tell you as it relates to that is there's a tremendous sense of pride of what has happened in this district and what continues to happen in Rockwood, regardless of if it's a child, if it's a grandchild, if it's a loved one or one that you care for that happens to be in schools. And so it just further, in my mind, re-emphasizes this notion of that just don't make assumptions. Let's do work to make sure people are informed, and then ultimately pass that information along and let people do what they ultimately need to do.
And just to make sure, it's not a tax increase, correct? Can we say that like multiple times?
I'm sure there's someone in my home that's going to say, I'm probably going to start saying this in my sleep, but I'm fairly certain she's not watching right now. But this is a 0 tax rate increase item that will be on the ballot, a 0 tax rate increase item that will be on the ballot November 7th.
I just want to tell you and your communications team and Dr. Cain, we appreciate what you're doing because this is ultimately going to impact our kids. And that's what all of us are doing sitting up here tonight. So thank you for the extra efforts, the nights away from home that many of you are going to be spending. And I'm going to be up there next to you, throwing out candy and talking about Prop 3 and at those meetings. And that's my commitment to you and your team.
It's truly a team effort. It's truly a team lift. I know it sounds hokey when I say it sometimes, but it's not. This is truth. This especially is an example of how we do it as a team. And I believe Rockwood can do many things. And so getting the word out, I think we can do this best if we do it as a team.